Hi, everybody. Welcome to this free event to talk about beginning your intention journey. As you know, my name is Lynn McTaggart, and I've been studying the power of intention and extended human potential for more than 25 years. And what I've understood, and I've tested and experimented with and seen with my own eyes, is thousands of instances of miraculous healings in every area of your life. The point is, this is not something only available to the very gifted. This is something that is available to you. And all you need to do is learn something about the best techniques to use, the best mindset state, the best heart state, the best wording, how to visualize it in your own head, how to take baby steps toward your goals, how to overcome doubt and negativity, and much, much more. So I'm going to give you a little glimpse of that today, and I really welcome you to ask questions. And if you have any questions, either on Facebook, where we're running live, or on the webinar, just write them, and particularly in the webinar, write on the Q&A pages in the webinar, in the Facebook webinar, just write on the chat and write in the, in the copy and the comment pages. And I'll try to answer as many as I can. So a number of you have already sent in questions, and they're all the kinds of questions I get when I'm teaching people about the rudimentaries of intention. And they demonstrate that people have lots of different ideas about what intention actually is. And one of the things that I go over in my forthcoming level 1 class, Intention Essentials, is exactly what intention is. Because lots of people, probably you as well, think intention is the same as meditation. Or you think it's a powered thought that you have, say, first thing in the morning, after you've done a little bit of meditation. You send out your power thought, and you think that's the only thing the universe hears. But as I'll demonstrate to you in my class, and with many of the experiments that I've done, is you're a leaky bucket. Your thoughts are not locked inside your head, but they're transmitting 24/7. And what you're sending out to the universe, every thought of your life, is essentially its own intention. And together, it compounds into an extraordinary intention. Now, you have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Have you ever stopped to think about how many of those are positive intentions? Aren't most of them, and as I demonstrate and my students learn, about 80% of them are negative. My bum looks big in this. My hair looks terrible today. Her hair looks terrible today. I'm going to fail. I'm no good at this. Nobody loves me. All of those thoughts that you have a great deal of the time are an intention, and they compound together. All that flotsam and jetsam, those 70,000 thoughts a day, they compound together to become your life's intention. So one of the things I help you understand is how to make that positive, how to turn that into a force for good. So lots of people have asked, and many people on this particular webinar have asked, is it the same as meditation? Is intention the same as meditation? And the answer, resoundingly, is no. And I know this for a fact because we've done brainwave studies on group of intenders in my Power of 8 groups. Now, the people who've been tested weren't expert intenders. These were total novices who'd received some rudimentary instruction about how to do intention. But what we demonstrated, excuse me, with a team of neuroscientists at Life University, one of the most prestigious universities for chiropractic in the world, what we demonstrated is that very quickly, when a sender is sending intention, the parts of the brain that make us feel separate, the parietal lobes, which sit back here, they help us navigate through space. They tell us what's me and what's not me. They were turned way down. So were the parts of the brain involved with worry, doubt, negativity. Part of the right frontal lobes also dialed way down. Now, this differs hugely from brainwave studies of meditation, and there have been loads of them. The Transcendental Meditation Organization has done many, many studies of meditation, and they find that when people do meditation, certain parts of the brain, slower brain waves, increase vastly. Alpha waves, slower brain waves than ordinary waking consciousness, increase. And what that tends to say is that there is a certain focus on things, but not a turning off of the brain. With intention, group intention, in particular, the parts of the brain that make us feel separate turn down. What does this mean? It means people experience a state of ecstatic oneness. And I believe that that's the place where miracles happen. Now, the brainwave signatures we discovered in these Life University studies, as I said, look nothing like meditation. What they look like, they were almost identical to the University of Pennsylvania's studies on Sufi masters doing chanting and Buddhist monks during ecstatic prayer. So people in Power of Eight groups experience essentially an altered state, a mystical state, a state of ecstatic oneness. And as I say, this turning off of the self, for me, demonstrates the greatest reason why Power of Eight groups are so extraordinarily transformational. So it's nothing like meditation. But let's see some other questions that people have asked. So people have said, what's the best way to transmit my intention to the universe? Great question. Well, there are 7 keys that I teach in my Intention Essentials course. And by the way, that's coming up June 24th. So if you're not signed up yet and you want to learn with me, and there are 6 sessions, we go over all of these key intention essentials and more. And also, I work with you in a live 2-hour mentoring session. You find out the 7 keys. They are the most essential aspects of doing intention correctly from the start. They include the right mind state. And it's not like meditation where you just try to stop thinking. It's a highly focused thought. The right heart state. And one of the key elements here that you learn is getting off of yourself and how exactly sending intention to others rebounds back to you 1,000-fold. You learn the right language. And that is key. I know this from the 40 intention experiments I've carried out with thousands and thousands of people around the globe and set up by prestigious scientists in many, many universities. And what we've found is the more specific our language, the better the intention experiment works. When we've just sent something nebulous like love to water, the experiment didn't work. So we've had concrete evidence that being specific is really, really important. And I show you exactly what language to use. There are different kinds of language you need to use depending on the kind of intention you do, whether it is an intention for your health, an intention for money, for more money in your life, an intention for a new job or a different career, an intention to heal a relationship, an intention to have a new relationship, an intention to create a different life purpose. I have lots of people on my many courses who want a new life purpose. And so learning how to frame that and determining exactly what you want is really, really important. Now, those of you listening, these are questions that have been sent in ahead of time. If you have questions, remember to write in the Q&A section on this webinar, or if you're on Facebook or on one of my groups on Facebook, just write questions there and our team will transmit them to the Q&A section. So people say, is there a best time to send intention? Well, there are certain ideal times, but to be honest, it doesn't matter. What's much more important is to be specific. I give you ideas about ideal times. One of them is about 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That's a very good time. And it has to do with your local sidereal time. It's something related to astronomy. But it's also when you are feeling top of your game, you're more likely to be successful. Or if your Power of 8 group is feeling top of your game, and I show people about that. Somebody else asked, what's the right language for getting more money? Should I just ask for a round figure, like $1 million or £1 million if you're in the UK, or euros if you're in Europe? Answer, no. Sometimes people think I should just round it up and I just want to be rich. Or they think, let's do an intention so the whole group gets $1 million. The whole Power of 8 group just intends that and we'll divide it among all of us. In my experience, that kind of very nebulous general intention doesn't work. I always ask people, what do you need optimally? Ask for that. And is it really that you want to be rich? Most people, when they have an intention like that, don't necessarily want to be rich. When they ask for $1 million, what they really mean is, I want a new job. I want a little more money. I want more free time. That's a lot of it. When people are asking for $1 million, what they want is not to do their same old boring job. They want to work less and have more time for their children or their grandchildren, or they want to spend more time on a hobby or an avocation. They don't necessarily want more stuff. So it's really important to tell the universe exactly what you want. And I show you in my classes, particularly Intention Essentials, exactly how to word things to receive the kind of money you want. I've had many, many, many students who needed to get out of debt or needed a certain amount. I had a woman in my ongoing master class this past year who was in debt and needed a certain amount of money. It was a certain amount of thousands of dollars, and did an intention for it with her group and got a tax rebate for almost the exact sum. So that's the sort of thing I tell people to do. You may not need $1 million. What you need is $25,000 for a new car, or $12,000 to put your child through a certain school, or to pay for certain health care. You don't necessarily need $1 million. So ask the universe for exactly what you want. Does that preempt you from getting more? That's what lots of people ask me. Well, if I only specify $2,439, I won't get more. That's not my experience. My experience is specifying it in some way focuses the universe. But many times my students get more than they ask for. But it's really important to tell the universe what you want. That's the key element. Now, what about visualization? Other people ask me. And I teach a particular form of visualization. Yes, it's really important, not only to think certain words with intention, but also to use certain visuals. It's a particular kind of visualization used by elite athletes. It's called mental rehearsal, and I teach people how to do that step by step. It's really key because you see it, feel it, taste it, smell it, know it. I make people actually experience in their senses what getting that intention would be like. So that's when I show you in my Intention Essentials course, and it's really key to doing it correctly from the start. Before I take some questions in the Q&A, I also want to emphasize, as I said before, this isn't something only available to the very gifted. It's not like playing the piano, where there's a few good people who are geniuses at it. Yes, there are certain people who may be a little better than others, but this is available to everybody. Everybody can do intention. It's a special gift we've all been born with. But the problem is, we knew this as children, but this capacity in every human being has been denied by our authority figures as we were growing up, our teachers, even our parents. And suddenly we stop believing that we have the innate ability to heal ourselves, each other, and the world. But I'm testimony with my thousands of students that this is a capacity available to everybody. You just need to learn how. So let's take a question. Let's see. Ina says, I've come to believe there's such a thing as potential, but that the road to unfolding can be hard work, sometimes wonderful, also often painful. I think most of the work of Carl Jung, who saw this as a lifelong journey, or the hero's journey, with the intention work, this getting to know thyself by following your blisters doesn't seem there. How could I relate this to your intention work? Well, I never say that once you start doing intention, you never hit a bump in the road again. That's not my teaching. My teaching is about using intention to attempt to get what you want, but also help you through those blisters, through those difficult places. Most of the people who come on my courses have an issue. They have a health issue. They have a money problem. They have a career they want to change. They have relationships they'd like to improve. They have new relationships they'd like to have. They have a desire to change their life's purpose. And so I help them move on to that next stage of their journey through the power of intention. Intention shows you what you really want, which is really key. Most people don't really know what they want. They know they don't want this. They don't necessarily know what they want, what's next. So I help them learn now what. I also help them learn how to get there. But that doesn't mean there won't be more difficulties in the road. But these tools, plus a Power of 8 group, really help you to cope. They really ease your way. Let's see something else. Okay. How do you quantify the difference between the effectiveness of a personal intention transmission versus a Power of 8 transmission? Great question from an anonymous attendee. There's no quantifying it in the sense that I haven't seen that more is better. We've done certain experiments and repeated them several times. We've done a seed experiment 6 times with different audiences around the world, different size audiences from 100 to many thousands. And each audience did the same intention to a set of seeds. There were new seeds each time, of course, and each experiment had the same outcome. What that told me was more is not better. What that also told me was distance from the target didn't matter. Whether we were 8,000 miles away in Sydney, Australia, and our seeds were sitting in Tucson, Arizona, that's 8,000 miles if you go via California, or if we were relatively close by, just one state away from those seeds in Arizona, in California. And whether we had 100 people, as we did in New York, in an audience there, or thousands over the internet sending intention via my website, we got the same result. So size doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is a group. So the difference between an intention done alone and an intention in a group is massive. It doesn't have to be thousands. It doesn't even have to be 8. Somebody asked me about that. Do you need exactly 8? You don't. It works with 6. It works with 12. If you've read my book, The Power of 8, you can see that 8 came about by accident, essentially. Now, maybe it wasn't accidental because 8 is a very loaded and mythical number. The Chinese believe it's good luck. And of course, it's a sideways infinity sign. But in my experience, all you need is a small group. So I find that a group really supersizes the intention. And I think it is because it's the group effect that creates that brainwave experience that I discussed earlier, this sense, this palpable sense of oneness. It's the group experience that makes you feel this overwhelming energy, goosebumps up your arm, a real sense of being in an altered state, peak experience, as the late psychologist Abraham Maslow called it. You really get into that state only with a group. So in my experience, when people are not having success with intention individually, doing it in a group really supersizes the outcome. What will it take to raise our global consciousness to a better life for all humanity? Is there evidence that trials for peace, etc., have sustained improvements? Well, yeah, look at Sri Lanka. We did an intention in 2008 during the time it was involved in a civil war. And the very week of our 8-day intention, violence increased and then plummeted. And what had actually happened is the government won a few decisive battles that turned around the entire course of the war. Within a few months, they had recaptured the north, which had been held by the rebel forces. And a few months later, that bloody civil war was over. Now, Did we do this? There are many, many variables in ending a war that can be blamed or attributed. Everything from the weather changed to our intention. But what's very strange about that experiment was that very week, our intention, essentially, there were battles that were fought that time during that very week that changed the entire course of that 25-year intractable war and ended up leading to peace. Go figure. All of our peace intention experiments have shown huge results. Now, have we demonstrated years and years later that in every instance it's held? No. But what we have seen are huge differences. In St. Louis, Missouri, a decrease in violence of 43% in just the neighborhood we focused on after 6 months, compared to all the other surrounding areas and St. Louis as a whole, where violence continued to go up. And that is the city that is officially the most violent place in America. So we want to do more and more of these. And when you asked, what does it take to raise global consciousness? I think it takes a movement starting small and growing from there, and a movement of small groups, which is one reason why I've started the 8 Revolution, which is calling in all of my Power of 8 groups to join forces. On my website, I have a special community section, so there's no Facebook ads or any distractions, where people can meet privately in their groups and chat with other groups. And I'm offering all of these groups free tools, free videos, free tools of all sorts to revitalize their neighborhoods, to revitalize their communities, to work together to create massive change from the ground up. Only when we decide to change our communities and shed our whole mantra of competitive individualism, which has been the governing leitmotif of our lives in Western civilization for several centuries. Until we unshackle ourselves from that leitmotif, we will not change. And those are the tools I'm trying to offer. I'm offering ways to start small from the ground up. So instead of looking for a top-down approach, instead of looking to our leaders, we're looking to small groups, making small change, and which turns into a massive social revolution. Now, somebody said, what about self-sabotage? How do you overcome it? That's something I cover in my Intention Essentials class. I have a whole class devoted to overcoming fear, and I have 7 keys to doing so. And one of the ways to do that is taking baby steps and mentally rehearsing every single step. That's what I show you how to do. And I give the wonderful example of Alex Honnold, who is the world's greatest free solo rock climber. Now, Alex Honnold has climbed up sheer cliffs that are several thousand feet up. And he's done several in Yosemite, which are terrifying, with just a chalk bag and some trainers. Now, what he's done and I use his example and his talk about it to show that the way he did that, the way he was able to climb up a sheer face of rock with nothing but toe holds with his feet into rock crevices and his hands. And the way he did it was he mentally rehearsed the whole thing. So I show you how to apply that to your life. How does that fit with regaining your health, How does that fit with a new job or more financial success, or a better relationship with your loved one, or a new relationship, or even a life purpose? You can translate all of that and get over fear, because if Alex Honnold can climb up a sheer rock face with nothing but his hands and toes and a chalk bag, you can achieve your success just practicing it all in your head. So I show you how to do that. Christopher asks, do the 8 have to intend at the same time, or will it work if we join at different times with the same intentions? Christopher, in my experience, it works much best when you intend all at the same time. Whether you're meeting in person or virtually, you need to have that intention together. That's what creates this altered state of oneness. If you hold it at different times, it doesn't create the same resonance. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create resonance. So all of your brain waves are operating in synchrony. And when that does that kind of resonance, the signal gets louder, as it does with sound. When you play a certain sound, let's say in a resonant cavity, it creates what are called standing waves. So the waves come back and they kind of carry on standing like this. And what happens is the signal gets stronger. That's what we're trying to do here. And that's why groups create a more powerful effect. That's why intention has to go and has to be sent at the same time. Now, why does it work? That's a good question. Why does intention work? That's a great question. And the main reason it works is that we're all part of a giant quantum energy field of potential. Quantum physicists have demonstrated that all the subatomic particles out there aren't an actual anything yet. They're a potential of something. To try to understand this, think of an auditorium filled with chairs. A subatomic particle is not just one chair in that big auditorium. It's every single chair, all at once. And what we've discovered, what quantum physicists have discovered, and there's no refutation to this anymore. We know this is fact. What they've discovered is that the act of observation, human observation, turns that batch of chairs, that is, that subatomic particle that's every possible state of itself all at the same moment, that turns it into one single chair. That's human observation. But the same is true of intention. When we intend for something, we focus on an outcome. It turns the potential of that outcome, the many possibilities, into a single outcome. We also know it works, and this has been tested with many, many studies. We know that when healers, for instance, send intention, scientists at the University of Arizona, at Freiburg University, at University of St. Petersburg, have been able to demonstrate that their tiny light emissions that come out of all living things, including human beings, increase in their dominate hand. Something about our thoughts and sending out our thoughts with intention don't stay locked inside our heads, but go out into the world, affecting people and things. And as I say, I've run many intention experiments where people around the world have sent intention to well-controlled targets in various labs, whether it's been in Penn State University, University of Arizona, University of California, and much more. All kinds of prestigious organizations and universities have run these studies. And we found out of the 40, everything from trying to make seeds grow faster, to purifying water, to lowering violence in war-torn or violent areas, to healing people of conditions. Of those 40, 36 have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. There's no drug out there with that kind of consistent track record. So we know it works. We also know the mechanism by which it works. But as I say, the important thing is understanding at least 7 key essentials. And that's when I teach people who are new to my work or have never taken a course in intention, that where they've learned these essentials before. Let's see some other questions from people. Is it possible to have 2 intentions of the same topic at the same time? Says Karim. For instance, an intention about healing 2 physical conditions. Well, it's possible to have 2 intentions, but don't send them out at the same time. So for instance, if you have a Power of 8 group, one week you send an intention to heal X condition. The next week, you send an intention to heal Y condition. What I would suggest, though, and what I tell my students always, is don't throw all of your intentions into the same pot or the same intention all at the same time. Don't create one giant mega intention of everything you want in your life. There's plenty of time to do each separately. And Karim also says, I want to participate in your course in Yorkshire, but for family commitment, I'm not sure if I can make it. Am I guaranteed a spot even though I will know, you'll know about the 20th of June? Karim, write into us, write into Laura at WDDTY, that stands for What Doctors Don't Tell You, wddty.co.uk, and let her know you're interested. We still have a few places. We are going to we will be holding it open, we hope at least till the end of June. So if you know then, I would just recommend just let us know and send us your deposit as soon as possible, because the sooner you get your deposit in, the earlier you are assigned a place. But I reckon there might still be some places then. So we hope to welcome you then. And for anybody else who doesn't know about that, we are running a retreat called Heal Your Past in Broughton Hall in Yorkshire, which is an amazing 3,000-acre stately home and park, both with a stately mansion, Broughton Hall itself, and we have many of our participants staying there, and also these beautiful historic cottages dotted around the property. And it's a special spiritual place because the owners, Roger Tempest and his partner Paris, are very spiritually minded. So they've created a beautiful spa, a beautiful meeting place, beautiful restaurant called Utopia, fire pit, labyrinth, and all kinds of things on these extraordinary 3,000 acres. It also houses all of the original equipment of the PAIR project at Princeton University I wrote about in The Field and the Intention Experiment. And I'm very excited to say that Jeff Dunn, the son of Brenda Dunn, the late partner of Dr. Robert John, who started the whole PAIR research project, is coming to our retreat, and he's going to give a talk about it, show off all the equipment, and let you play around with it. And you'll actually see the power of your mind to affect those machines, that extraordinary electronic equipment. So it's a really special place. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Should we use words such as cancer in our intention statements? Asks somebody. Yes, As I say, what I teach students is to tell the universe what you want. There is an urban myth that you can't mention the unmentionables, like what's really wrong with you, because you'll get more of it. So if you use the word cancer, you'll get more. No, what we do in the languaging that we learn is to use positive verbs, like our intention is that Jane Doe be healed of or overcome cancer. And by doing that, that's a positive. But if you don't tell the universe what you want, then how do you get an outcome? You have to say, I've got cancer and I want to be healed from it. And it's okay to do so. I have a woman who attended our Broughton Hall retreat last year. She did one intention with her Power of Eight group at the retreat. I assign everybody a Power of Eight group there. And they did it in this extraordinary library that's part of this 16th century mansion. And it's, floor to ceiling, rare books, beautiful antique oak furniture and bookshelves. And they felt an extraordinary spirit of place there. They did this intention for Esther, who had stage 4 melanoma. Didn't even think she was going to be able to come to the retreat. She came with her son. And it was so powerful that the entire group still remembered the extraordinary resonance in that place and the feelings they had. When they do intentions now, they all mentally go back to the library. It was that powerful. The upshot of that was Esther believed that was what turned it around for her. And although she eschewed chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and only had some alternative treatments, she is healed. She was healed 6 months after that experience. She was healed of cancer. She's now completely cancer-free. So we see, and I see this many, many times, students of mine with serious cancers reverse them with the help of their group and Power of Eight and the help of in really specific intentions. Okay, let's see who else we have. What if your intentions, desires change every day or every week, says Ina. For example, today I want to start a podcast. Tomorrow I want to start my community center. Well, you have many intentions, Ina. It's okay to have those different ones. What I would say is, with a Power of Eight group, focus on one for a while and then do an intention for something else. It sounds to me like you want to create a community and broadcast in some way, and it's all connected. So I would intend for one stage of it at a time, but it's okay to intend for the whole lot. Just one at a time. Don't try to throw it all into one big intention statement. Okay. I do divination daily, says Anka, and often I get the message that my current financial situation is healing, but in reality, it's the same. Something's missing and I don't get it. I do not know what the blocks are in the manifestation. Can you please provide your opinion on that? Well, I would say try a different approach. Try intention, try a Power of Eight group, and be more specific. I would say, when you say change your financial situation, tell the universe exactly how much money you want, or how much money you'd like to make on a monthly basis, or something very, very specific like that. What I have found, particularly with money, the more specific you can be, the better. Okay. Let's see. Am I studying AI and maybe the positive ways we can use our intention to positively influence or utilize AI? Very interesting. I did a little experiment with AI just to see how it would come up with certain research about a a subject I was researching, and it came up with a lot of received wisdom. So remember, with AI, it's very clever, but it's only as good as the input. And then it learns from that a bit, but it's still only as good as the input. So I haven't seen that it's been able to synthesize things in a new and creative way. I think more is necessary, but there's lots of good ways we can use it. And that's an interesting idea, to intend for it not to be used in a negative way. I mean, one of the things we are doing in our 8 revolution, we'll be starting intention experiments within my community that people can take part of. And this is a part in, and this is one of the ideas that would be very useful, is to focus on intending for positive use of AI. So thanks for that suggestion. How many intentions can a Power of 8 group do in one meeting? You can do about 3. I would say that you meet for about an hour. That's probably a real optimum time. If the group wants to carry on meeting, fine. You only do intentions for 10 minutes. That's all you need to do. That's all I've ever done with our big intention experiments. That's all I ever teach. And I figure you can do about 3. Now, Janka, you've got your question in German. I can't translate it right there. If you can put it into Google Translate and put the translation up, I'd be happy to answer your question. Wow, David Finestone wants to just report. He was part of our first Power of 8 Intention Masterclass. His group changed the pH value of water by 2 points. Everything is possible. Now, what I tend to do in my masterclass is encourage people to do experiments of their own. And I explain to them how to do that. And I will be including some of those kinds of experiments too in our 8 revolution. But this is something that I like people to try because it really demonstrates to them in a very visceral way the power of the group. We've had people who have been part of my classes who have tried to make seeds grow faster. And they actually had 2 sets of seeds, and one batch of seeds got intention and the other seeds did not, and the seeds sent intention grew much higher than controls. I had somebody else, some other group, that did a really fun experiment. They wanted to have more water in their area. So they did an intention to increase the rain in their area. And they got information about rainfall from their local chamber of commerce and their local government, and they plotted all the rainfall in their area versus the rainfall in surrounding areas, and looked at that, and then looked at the rainfall after their intention. And lo and behold, it really increased. So those are the kinds of things that really convince any doubting Thomases out there that this stuff really works. So well done, David. I'm so glad. And I hope you're still meeting with your group. I have lots of people who've been meeting since 2013, and certainly lots of people who started meeting in lockdown. So let's see. On the specificity issue, says Elizabeth, when projecting intention, does it help to specify the when as well as the what? Absolutely. That is sometimes a little elastic, but that's one of the things I teach, is how specific to be, what to include in your intention statement. I actually show people, I give people examples of the kinds of intention statements that work optimally. Okay. This is a good question again from Ina. Does the intention path, so to speak, rule out the concept of fate in life or unexpected events in life, especially when someone has very detailed intentions? Seems to be in contrast with the old spiritual religious paradigm of I lay my fate in your hands. Please let me do your divine work. Are we ourselves the gods now? And what are the implications thereof? What a great question, Ina. Look, intention is not prayer. Prayer is, as you say, thy will be done. That is, God, I'm in your hands, you decide. And there's an element of that, of course, in our lives. And this is not anti-religion. And the question of fate is simply this. If you believe in a quantum universe, if you believe that everything is potential, that means life has not been set down in stone. You don't have one specific path only. You have a path with lots of detours, and that's the human experience, is to make choices and make directions and use your mind and use your powers of intention to nudge things in a certain direction. What you are doing is, with intention, is a respectful request to the universe. That doesn't mean there won't be bumps in the road, as I said before. That doesn't mean there won't be sometimes divine intervention. But we aren't necessarily gods, but we are creators. And there's no question of that, according to the science we now understand, quantum science. So they don't contradict each other, they augment each other, is the way I like to look at it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so somebody has, let's see, how long should a Power of 8 group session last, and how many intentions should they plan to do? Lynn asked it as well. I like an hour. That tends to be about the best. Too much, more than that, and people get a little bored. Too little, and there's not enough to go. It takes too long to get around to the 8. A viewer on Facebook has asked, I'm confused. I believe you said that if someone had 2 intentions to do them at the different times, like one this week and another next week, but you later said you could do 3 intentions at a time. I don't mean 3 intentions with one person. I mean 3 intentions, one each on 3 different people. So if you have a group of 8 or more, it's going to take you many weeks to get round the circle and give everybody a turn if you only do 1. If you do 3 at a time, it'll only take a few weeks before you get around the circle. So that's why I recommend, if you think of a 10-minute segment and then some time to chat and to decide on the intention statement beforehand, some time for feedback afterward, you should be able to do about 3 in that hour. Okay, see if there's any others. Helen says, what's the most effective way to change a lifelong habit? Well, I think the best way is to work on baby steps, and I show people how to do that in my Intention Essentials course. And also groups of intenders. Power of 8 groups have broken many, many habits. I think of a woman named Shelley, who was in a class of mine a few years ago, who had a real sugar addiction. It was so bad that she would wake up in the middle of the night and eat. And what ended up happening is she would be really tired, and so she'd sleep till the afternoon, which was affecting her family life a great deal. So her group did an intention for her to get through that sugar habit, to overcome it. And the upshot was she lost loads of weight. She stopped eating sugar. She stopped being tyrannized by it. She started exercising. She started meditating, and her whole life changed. Her relationship with her husband got better. So all of those things worked. Amy says, I can't currently afford any of the courses or retreats. Are there other resources you would recommend for learning the basics? There's a lot of resources on my website, Amy. Go to lynnmctaggart.com and join the 8 Revolution. You can join a Power of 8 group and start your journey there. This summer, I'm going to be providing more low-cost, short courses that anybody can afford, so that we'll be having other kinds of resources, but there's loads. There's loads. Okay. A group of us, says Paris, are gathered to set a healing intention for our friend who has stage 4 cancer and not doing well. Can you share some wording for such an intention on this call? I tell you what, Paris, I think the best thing is to put her and send a note to Laura at wddty.co.uk. Put her in our community. And we do, every Sunday, we do an intention by our entire community for 3 people with serious health issues. And if you do that, and I get all of the details, in order to word this, I would need all the details of the person's health, her situation. But if you do that, we can then craft an intention statement, send it out to our entire community. The whole community will send an intention for her. Now, let's see. Okay. Then Anne says, everyone has one primary sense and one secondary sense. It's totally normal. That's how your intuitive information comes in. Also, the remaining non-dominant senses can be developed. It works. Go for it. And this is true. I mean, there's so much evidence that we have the ability to see beyond our senses. You know, Princeton University did extraordinary work on remote viewing and demonstrated pairs of remote viewers. It worked when the remote viewer was trying to discern where his remote viewing partner was, anywhere from around the corner to thousands of miles away, both in time, but also out of time. One of the most extraordinary parts of their research was that about 2/3 of the experiments had a pair of people. One was the remote viewer, the other was the traveling partner. And in those 2/3 of experiments, the remote viewer had to describe and draw where his traveling partner was before the traveling partner had even taken an envelope telling him where he should go to, before he had even chosen where he was supposed to go. And they worked. That's how powerful our precognitive senses are, our ability to remote view, and also intention. Another anonymous question. We're going to have to wrap this up soon. If I have a brain condition with a stereotype and stigma in the field that isn't correct to what it really is the field of incorrect information going to counter my intention of healing from it? No. If you're saying that you have been labeled with a condition and a stereotype, so I'm not quite sure if you mean that they have called it ADHD and it's not really that. The point is, don't use the label, you describe the symptoms and do an intention to heal all the symptoms you are suffering from. That's more important than any kind of label. Okay, let's see if I have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Oh, any advice for black sheep? Those are in the position of being the focus of negative intentions, of others' negative intentions. That's something I really show people how to counter. I give some information about that in my Intention Essentials class. We do a lot of work on that in my master class, which starts in February. That's a year-long class. Okay. Can I have an intention group of 3? Celia says, I think 3 is a little bit too small. Try to get a few more. It doesn't have to be 8, and it doesn't have to be exactly 8, but I would say at least 5, and probably about 12 to 15 is the maximum. Okay, let's see. Elizabeth, can intention be directly sent into the past? And if so, could that explain the Mandela effect? I'm sorry, I don't really know the specifics of the Mandela effect. All I know is I use intention to heal the past. That's exactly what we're doing at our Broughton Hall retreat. We spend a whole week doing all kinds of revisiting of the past and using intention to heal it. We also work with my husband, Brian Hubbard, author of The Untrue Story of You, whose Time-Light method healed his own 10 years of depression from an abusive parent when he was a child growing up. And it is a whole technique that gets rid of the past that sits on us like an unwanted guest and affects our present and our future. All right, everybody. So I've got to go now. This is the end of our session, but it's been wonderful answering all of your questions. Now, remember, if you'd like to join our Intention Essentials class, it's kicking off June 24th. So that's only in a few weeks' time. It's 6 sessions in total. You learn all of these 7 key essentials, how to overcome fear and self-sabotage, all the rudimentaries of creating and working with a Power of 8 group, all the ways to word it, all the ways to create the right mind state, the right heart state, how to do mental rehearsal, and so much more. To find out more, remember, go on to our website, and we'll have information in the chat here about how to join on the chat on Facebook too, how to join. But remember, the spaces have really filled up. So you need to hurry if you want to join. We'll be doing a countdown soon and kicking off in less than 2 weeks. So I really hope you're going to join me. And if not that class, I hope you join me with future endeavor. Don't forget to join the 8 Revolution. All of the tools on there are completely free to all. I'm creating a little social revolution, and I really want you to be part. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you soon. Take care now.